The Niners have an awful lot of talent, and the guys in the locker room right now just need to play better. That's how the Niners get better. Everyone do your jobs. Everyone do your jobs. Play better right now. I'm looking at you, Nick Bosa. You got Kim Kardashian underwear ads. I've seen more pictures of your abs than I have seen you in the backfield so far this year. You need to be better with what you got up front. And Eric Armstead has been a no-show this season. Drake Jackson, haven't used his name since week 1. Javon Hargrave is a good pass rushing D tackle. I think is a little light up the middle, and part of the reason why the run stopping nature of this defense has been hard to find the past couple of weeks. They've given up 769 total yards with only 2 sacks over their last 8 quarters, and no sacks against Kirk Cousins. So that's why they're losing, because the guys that they're paying big money to get the job done have not gotten the job done. And I think Steve Wilks, I think Buddy Ryan, I think the best defensive coordinators in football would all be struggling a little bit if part and parcel of how we win today is we got 4 down linemen that can get to the quarterback.
Let's not pretend that Steve Wilks is Buddy Ryan, because he ain't.
No, I'm not.
Steve Wilks has had like 9 different jobs in the last 9 years.
No, but what I'm saying is any defensive coordinator is going to look less than when your defensive line isn't doing its job.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a couple things listed as things I wanted to see keys to victory yesterday. And like one of them was feature Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, get Ronnie Bell involved. Those things did not happen. Split the running back carries more like, in thirds. Let's say there's 60 snaps, 20 for CMC Mason and Mitchell. That didn't happen. Take care of the ball. The Niners led the NFL coming into last night's game in turnover differential, and Minnesota was 30th. That didn't happen. The only thing that I was looking for yesterday on the offensive side of the ball that did happen, I said the O-line needs to pick up the blitzes from Hicks and Ivan Pace and Josh Metellus and not let Danielle Hunter feast. And they didn't let, they dealt with the blitzes and they didn't let those guys feast. And then on defense, I wanted to see the Niners stop Minnesota's run game. They really didn't. I also thought, hey, force Minnesota into some turnovers. They had 13 of them and 9 fumbles. They didn't do a good enough job there. So,
look, and they never got off the field, Larry. The Vikings' 5 straight scoring possessions took an awful lot of gas out of their tank. That was a 10-play, 89-yard touchdown drive, followed by a 13-play, 67-yard drive that resulted in a field goal, followed by a 5-play, 75-yard drive that was the touchdown that Ward let go right past him. The 11-play, 77-yard field goal drive actually helped keep the 49ers in that game. And then there was a 10-play, 50-yard drive for another field goal. They had scored on 5 straight possessions, but they were still only up by 1 possession. But the defense didn't get off the field last night. It's just that simple. They did not get off the field. Every single, you got to make a play here on 3rd down was first down.
Well, I mean, one of my keys was key on Hawkinson. Hawkinson caught 11 balls.
Yeah.
Sack Cousins. They didn't get a single sack on 35-year-old Cousins, despite the fact he dropped back 45 times. I mean, that right there is it. I mean, this team was built and all the money, follow the money. The money on this team's on the D-line. That means the D-line's got to lead the way.
Yep.
And they didn't. They weren't good enough against the run. They weren't good enough against the pass. So I agree. If Kasarik told me in July, hey man, I'm going to play my guys in a rotation. All right. But I mean, you're not, who's getting to the quarterback? Who's getting to the quarterback on this D-line? I mean, nobody's doing it with consistency. And that part is the part that if you say, what's really surprising is that on this line that's so loaded and so rich. I mean, when the Niners signed Javon Hargrave, as a 49er fan, didn't you think that, oh man, it's going to be jailbreak on quarterbacks.
Yep.
You are adding Hargrave and his 11 sacks to Bosa and Armstead and what they got up front. Oh man, they're going to hunt quarterbacks. They're not hunting shit. So, I mean, it's really time for, my concerns are more with the health of Greenlaw, the health of Warner, because these guys mean everything in the run D. They've traded some run defenders for some pass defenders, and they're asking the remaining run defenders to pick up the slack, and they have, because they're that special. But here we are, middle of the year, and those guys are getting beat up. So I'm a little concerned because Greenlaw and Warner are probably, the guys that they really need to dominate are like CMC, Warner, and Greenlaw. That's where you're running the ball, and that's where you're stopping the run. And those guys are getting beat up. So do you want to win the Super Bowl? If you do, I suggest lessening the workload on CMC, diversifying your rushing attack, and finding another player or two on defense that can stop the run. Otherwise, you got no shot. You got no shot. And because ultimately, if you got into the playoffs and you're leaning on JP Mason and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles and Oren Burks, you're done. You're done. And I love those guys. They're all solid players, but you have to have your stars doing their thing. Peter King said it last week after the Browns game. Kyle's got to find a way to utilize his Debo and CMC offensive weapons. But you could say the same thing on defense. They got to find more guys they can bring to the party.
Larry, I can't remember if it was Bay Area Baller or if it was Ryan last night on the postgame show who made the point that I thought about actually when I popped in for about 20 minutes after hosting my own postgame show, and then I had to go to bed. It's time to move Nick Bosa around. I mean, do something more creative. I didn't see a lot of stunts last night. I didn't see a lot of razzle-dazzle anywhere on that defensive line. The things that we've become accustomed to, the pressure, it's gone away the last couple of games. Now, look, there are a couple of pretty good tackles in Minnesota. Darisaw can play. I mean, they're good.
Yeah.
The weakness was in that interior, and it wasn't taken advantage of not once. Not once. The 49ers should have won that game guard to guard. And they didn't. And I can't even remember a single time where Kirk Cousins had to make a holy shit throw. I got to get rid of this. But for the one call where even Troy Aikman said that should be intentional grounding, because just look at the way he threw it. He threw the ball to the ground to avoid a sack. There was no intent to get that to a screener, even if the screener was in the vicinity. Refs missed that call. I don't think this is. How about this? No one's blaming the refs this week. No one's blaming the refs this week on that 49ers loss. They had nothing to do with it. Poorly officiated game in Cleveland, kind of in both directions. Yeah, there was plenty to talk about there. Poorly officiated games all around the NFL. Yeah, there's a lot of shit officiating going on right now. Last night's game was officiated well, consistently, fair shake both ways. It was just failure to execute by the players who need to execute for the 49ers to look like the 49ers. And this is a defensive football team first and foremost, and they haven't been 2 weeks in a row now.